Is Wednesday, March 24th, 2021, 6 p.m. This regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners workshop is called to order. City Clerk, will you call the roll?
Mayor Hendricks.
Here.
Vice Mayor Price. Here. Commissioner Hodges. Here. Commissioner Andrews.
Here.
Commissioner Hudson.
Here. Floor is open for public comment for anything that is not on our agenda tonight. If you have a comment, please step to the podium, state your name and address, and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Good evening. I'm Marilyn Halfling from 806 Bay Point Drive, and I'm here to talk about the residential parking issues that are going on. In particular, I've always been concerned about Bayshore and people parking on both sides of the road, mainly the different, like, lawn people and whatever, and how you have to slalom between, and there are no sidewalks on Bayshore. And I really feel there's an accident waiting to happen, and an easy resolution would be to allow parking on only one side of Bayshore. And that way, you know, the walkers and the bikers and people could get through without slaloming all over the place. And just this last week or so, 140th is showing a lot of parking. When I came here tonight, there were 8 cars parked on the north side of 140th, just before Gulf Boulevard. And it's probably to do with caddies or spring break. I don't know if it's temporary. But this morning when I left and went on 140th, there was also a flat rack taking a whole lane on that side. And I don't know, people seem to think they can just put down cones and take up a whole lane of 140th. That's less of a safety problem because there is a sidewalk on both sides for people and bikes, but still, it's just amazing. You know, people don't they don't seem to you know, they could pull in and whoever they're servicing. Many people have places to pull in, but when they do both sides, out on Bay Point, it's always a slalom course too during the daytime. So many service people in buildings, and it's just, I don't know. I think something needs to be done, like one-side parking. My friends in private gated communities and stuff, they all have one-side parking, and they just tell when they have a guest, if there's no space on their property to park, they say you have to park across the street. You know, that side's allowed, and they have no parking this side. And it seems to solve a lot of problems. And I don't know about Crystal Island, but they don't have sidewalks, as Bay Point does not have sidewalks. And I think the walkers and the bikers and stuff would be a whole lot safer if we got into some one-side parking. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is John Lee. I live at 519 Lillian Drive, right in the middle of the construction. At the gate for everybody that pulls into the construction, I'm at that gate where I live. I have taken the brunt of that construction, which I don't care. I've done construction for 40 years. I know what it takes, but you can only imagine what I've gone through. At the gate, every piece of equipment that comes in and goes out goes right out of my front yard. Number 2, I would like to make the commission to know that I brought this up at the very beginning of this industrial road that they put in, that there are different widths in this road, and the city had a chance to take action to make the park the same size as the rest of the roads in the city of the Crystal Island. Just so you know, John's Pass is 26 feet, asphalt to asphalt. Crystal, 26 feet, asphalt to asphalt. Guess what the Teardrop Park is? 20. 6 whole feet difference. It could have been corrected during this project and neglected, and it actually took an extra foot away, making it 20 feet. It was at 21. Now it's at 20. Now, this means nothing to me other than a request of the commission. I'm requesting something. In return for this, I would like to, and I've been here since 1995, long time. I know how the parks operate. I would like to request that the no parking signs get put back up, if that's a big issue. Because the road is so narrow, 6 feet, that's the width of a normal car, a small car, that the people that come to the park could actually park on part of the grass, not obstructing the road. Plus that, if people come over, go fishing, have a little get-together, they're going to clog the road, totally. So if we do this on a trial basis, I also have lots of neighbors that I've talked to, and they're all in on it. And I can get you a petition if requested. But I would like to have the no parking signs not put back up. If that's an observation that somebody wants to look at, consider, I would definitely appreciate it. That would help out my whole area and make it a little bigger. Plus, the egress of the fire station and the emergency vehicles would be much better because the road would stay open. 6 feet is a big difference in a road width. The whole park is only 20 feet. I brought that up in the very beginning. Nobody knew about it. Nobody. Not even the construction people knew about it. They're just going to existing limits. So just to let you know the facts. That's what it is. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Hey, John, real quick question. Did you say your request is that the no parking signs not be put back up?
Not put back up.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. I mean, they put them up before, and I can tell you the reason they put them up is because they couldn't mow one day. Now, if that's the issue, I'll have my people mow it. I'm only 20 feet away. It's not that big a deal. They put them up there because supposedly the lawn mowing people couldn't get in there one day and they couldn't mow because there was a car there. That's not a big issue to me. When I first moved in, and people who lived here this long, like myself, there was never a no parking sign in that park. We could utilize the park. That was part of the reason I parked there. People would come over and go fishing. They would park, line up right down the edge of the grass, would not obstruct any traffic, any joggers, any egress of any emergency vehicles, nothing. When those signs went up, it caused all kinds of problems. The sheriff's department came out and wrote tickets for you being on the grass 3 inches. Took pictures. Wrote tickets for that. Come on. Really? That's not needed in this city. Especially for this long being in it. You don't need that. If it's going to be an issue, I'd like for you to try it. The no parking signs. If you have an issue after that, I see it. I don't think you're going to have one. But I'm just asking you to please consider it. Okay? Thank you very much for your time.
Good evening, Robert Preston, 425 South Bayshore Drive, Madera Beach. What he was just talking about wasn't what I was going to talk about. What if we made that a one-way going around Lillian Park? So everybody... Okay. I was just throwing that out. So there's some... It's not on the agenda, and that's why I'm bringing it up. It's the potential Palm Street parking that the city might get themselves involved in.
It is on the agenda.
It is on the agenda? Okay, then I won't talk about it, sorry.
Good evening, Chuck Dillon, 529 Lillian Drive. Old saying, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. We were all fooled by the parking situation at the new restaurant on the beach. There were many meetings about the parking that surrounds the new establishment, but it was right in front of us and they were very open and stated in the alcohol permit application on March 10th. How can a restaurant that serves 227 plus people only have 38 parking spots and 2 bike racks? How can a restaurant not make any accommodations for their employees? This was brought up to me Monday night by Bob at the Planning Commission with the hotel, that they're talking about the amount of parking spots they have. And I'll talk more about that later, but also we do need to have something more done about dogs on the beach. I believe there was something, but it's getting more and more rampant all the time. And to call police for dogs on the beach, it's, I don't know. Something I think should be done possibly, and the one big conflict is the condominium right by Tom and Kitty Stewart. The people rent there, and they come out with their dogs on the beach. They don't go through, so they don't really see a sign. But in terms of if all these condos at least have some, rules and regulations. No dogs, no glass. Thank you.
Thank you. Else? Do we have any email
Yes.
comments?
I do have one that's the general comment. This email is from Dexter Boone, 571 Johns Pass Avenue. Please provide a status update for the speed zone regulations for the ICW in reference to the city's jurisdiction. Last year there was a lot of progress made regarding this objective. The boats are getting larger, more powerful, and traffic is increasing. There seems to be little but to no regard for safety or damage caused by the wakes created by the boats, especially close to the docks on Johns Pass Avenue. I did ask our lobbyist to see if he can get this shook loose from FWC Weather up in Tallahassee, so I haven't heard back from him.
Thank you.
And I don't think any part of the intercoastal waterway is the city's jurisdiction, is it?
Outside of the channel
Yeah.
itself.
Well, I'm looking at the comment. I know outside the channel, we work to get a minimum wake zone.
Correct.
We're gonna have posts put up, and we're getting a you have to have
Right.
permits and all that stuff that we talked about, I guess, 5 or 6 meetings ago. But the intercoastal waterway itself, we can't do anything.
Right, we cannot regulate the speed on the intercoastal. I think the problem, although it might not be explained in here, but the original problem of the boats getting too close to the houses on the pass and
Oh, yeah.
navigate that.
I heard them. I thought it was terrible. I don't blame them.
Hopefully you can get it shook-free. Originally the problems with COVID and their staff not being there, but they should be getting back legislative session being there, so.
I thought we were gonna go for permits and put up.
Yes, well, they have to approve our speed zone first.
Okay, got it.
And then once that gets done, then we'll go in, we'll do the permits, and, that's the easier part of the job, it's just getting it out of Tallahassee.
Thank you. Next is a beach tractor purchase. Director Ruffner.
I don't want to take Megan's thunder, but to let you know, this was an issue that we had. It's in the budget. We knew we were going to have to replace this tractor, and our plan was to present it at the workshop and then have you all vote on it at the meeting in April. Unfortunately, last week, the tractor that we had a major mechanical problem, and it died. So we're now in, a mode to get a tractor here as soon as we can. So the same tractor that we have the information on is in stock. We do have to make an adjustment with some of the tires, which they're going to change, and then there's a fitting that they have to put in for the rake itself. But Megan, I'll let you talk about the timetable but I'm prepared to move forward with it now and then come back for ratification at the April meeting if it all makes sense to you, but I think we can't let the beach go without being raked.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Yes, as Bob said, this was in the budget, and we didn't expect for our tractor to break, but unfortunately it did. So the rear axle valve blew out, or seal blew out last week. So our beach hasn't been raked in a week, which it's used to rake every day. So the tractor, as Bob stated, is in stock. The tires that we use are a different tire that have to be ordered, so they're 3 to 6 weeks out, but they are ordered. And then the valve should be a week out. So we might just try to use the ag tires that are currently on the tractor for the time being, just so we can get through, and then we'll swap them out at no extra cost.
Megan, this is on budget,
Correct.
right? So you're
In
under
the
budget.
2021 budget.
I don't know about you guys, I don't see real reason for this to even come in front of us. I mean, this is if it's something that we were gonna purchase anyway, the other one broke down, let's not waste any time, especially during spring break, let's get a tractor as soon as we possibly can and rake the beach. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, I don't wanna make a decision for everybody, but anytime anything is in a budget, we've already talked about that. I mean, that's a done deal. I mean, so, you have my blessing, I don't know everybody else, but that seems to be a done deal.
Yeah. I think we're good to go, Megan, on that.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that you knew, so you weren't caught by surprise. So,
Is the old one so far gone that we can't keep it for a backup? Is that something we need to just send to the auction?
probably, we haven't gotten the assessment on it yet, but it's a minimum $5,000 that we're gonna be spending into it, and, so we haven't had it evaluated by Leroy yet, but, that's what we're working on.
Okay, thank you. Next is seawall assessment. Megan, don't sit down yet. This is one, I have to say, I'm glad is back on the workshop.
Yeah. So I went to all of the seawalls that were on the original proposal from Cardinal, and that's all the attachments that you see. The only ones that we are missing would be here at the city center, which was done, I believe, in 2012, Causeway Park, and then the one down by Dom's Dock, that was done last year. So I'm just bringing you the pictures and the information and just waiting for more direction.
Mr. Mayor, if you don't mind, I was the one that brought this up, and I asked that it be revisited. Vice Mayor Price made a great point on a different topic a couple weeks back that we didn't have any information to look at. It's really tough to kind of judge something. Like I say, it was a different topic. Tough to judge something by saying the seawall at BOC. So, Megan, I think these pictures tell a really, really great story for us, so thank you on that. Again, and I said it the last time, but I think it's worth repeating, and the mayor just kind of alluded to it now, but he was staunchly against this from the start. I was on the fence, but I definitely made my decision based on the executive personnel we had at the time, and I think if I had seen these pictures, not that I'm a seawall expert by any means, I think I may have voted differently. Okay? Don't get me wrong, I think it's great to commission studies and do assessments when necessary, but sometimes it's just flushing cash and time and just buying a little time for us, so frankly, we don't have much of either. So nothing's changed for me since the last meeting when I brought it up. My suggestion was we tap on the brakes on this until we find a permanent replacement for the director role here in Public Works, but, and I stand by that, so that's all I have. Thanks.
Megan, I have a question. But there's a couple of pictures here. I don't know if you can see from where you're standing. You don't have an address on it. Is this at the marina?
That's at the marina, yes.
And also,
So that's, yeah, that's by the fuel dock, yes. Those are all at the marina.
okay, all right. I can see the first one. I can see damage there. The second one, I don't see the damage.
There's very few spots over there that can be point repairs, not that the whole seawall is failing. And at every seawall that I went to, the worst one that I saw was at the end of 129th. And that one definitely would need to be replaced in the next couple years. But for now, it's not failing.
I do remember when Jamie was here, we spoke about some of the seawalls that he had listed.
Mhm.
And he had, the seawalls over on, Island Drive.
Which
that
were
opening there.
replaced.
But you know, those were done a couple years ago.
They were all done between 2012, 2009 to 2012. I went back and found a lot of documents.
There were several that we pointed out and just wanted him to check on it, and I see you don't have them listed.
I don't have those ones done because Flamingo was just totally replaced in the Crystal Island project.
Okay.
And Crystal Island, Island Drive wasn't listed on the Cardinal assessment, I don't believe.
It's not on here. It used to be, it was on there originally.
Right, and that one also was done in
Right.
2012-ish.
Right.
Right.
It's been a while then.
Yes.
I appreciate that. Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome.
I think those are the only two that I had a question on. You didn't have an address, so I was assuming.
I can go take pictures of all the seawalls and just, we're getting them into a list just for us.
Right. But the pictures are fantastic. You've done a great job. Thank you.
Well, the pictures are good of the caps. It's not the caps failing I'm worried about. It's underneath where the water hits the, whatever it is, concrete or the vinyl or whatever the heck is under there. That's where a seawall fails. The cap doesn't fail, generally. I don't know. I'm still for taking stock of everything. I am glad, finally, to see some sort of a spreadsheet here of, I don't know what acquired date means on these seawalls.
Is that the asset list?
Yes.
I pulled that directly from the asset list from Patrick, and that was dates and the amount of money that we had spent on the seawall project.
All right. And so at least we have one ready to be worked on, or certainly looked at, because it has totally run out of time. Its life is gone. And that was the one that was the seawall panels. I don't know what the address is.
The asset list doesn't give us addresses whenever we look at it, unfortunately.
So this doesn't help me much as far as figuring out how old some of our seawalls are, but at least one of them is from 1997. I don't know. From my understanding, Cardinal is going to go down with a diver and take a look, which is how you assess a seawall. That's how I assessed my seawall at my home before I bought it. I had an inspection done, and that's what they do. They go down and actually look at it and see if there's damage or if there's leaking or if there's cracks and things like that. So my position hasn't changed from the last time. We'll just vote on it in whatever way it comes over. I will tell you that I do not have a problem with waiting until we get our new Director of Public Works and have that person make a recommendation or not. I'm not an expert on seawalls, but if that new person coming in, I agree with Doug, we could certainly wait until he or she decides it's something that the city needs to look at.
Yeah, happy, that's all, excuse me, Vice Mayor, that's all I'm really asking for. Let's just kind of tap on the brakes. I didn't say let's get rid of the project.
Yeah.
Just slow down a second. Let's have somebody, whoever comes in, they may not know anything about this, and we'll call these guys up and we'll do the project if that's what that person deems necessary. I just think, we could bump into somebody that has a very expansive knowledge of this process and this procedure, and, you want to see a seawall that's failing, come to my store, I'll show you a seawall that's about to fail, and I'm on the phone with 7-Eleven all the time about it. But yeah, so some of the other ones that I've seen, like I said, I'm not an expert, but I can tell when one's failing. And you can take a look down and you can see what's going on. So yeah, that's all I was really asking for. Let's just slow it down here for a second.
Can't afford all the bells and the whistles, and it's not rocket science to decide whether or not you need a seawall. If it's leaning a little bit, odds are your tiebacks are gone. If you got cracks in the panels and they're starting to bow, you need to replace the seawall. So I was not a fan of this whole project, I don't think we need to spend $30,000. I think we can have seawalls assessed on an individual basis as we need, as we see that they're beginning to look shaky without spending $30,000 to do it. So I'm all for holding off on this for the time being, at least until we get someone in that's the full-time director.
All right. Thank you.
Is there any public comment on this before we move on? Bob? The other Bob.
425 South Bay Shore. Didn't the city sign a contract with Cardinal? Okay, so the contract wasn't finalized then. So there's nothing we have to worry about getting out of. Thank you.
Anyone else? Next is an update on the fireworks event. Director Hatch.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. So just, well, as listed, it says fireworks event. This is the update for 4th of July fireworks. Obviously, I didn't learn anything from the previous 6 people that tried to get barges for fireworks. So we have made friends with many of the marine construction folks in the Tampa Bay area and throughout Florida, and leave us with where we are. So just to give you a little history, we had a barge that we utilized 2 years ago. That was, we reached out to that group again. They have sold it. So we reached out to the company they sold it to. It's not available. And we have contacted 8 other companies in the process trying to play catch up with who has a barge, who doesn't. Oddly enough, the previous issue was we had a barge but no tugboat to move it. This year, it's the exact opposite. We have plenty of people willing to push stuff around, but due to, as you look at the construction on the Howard Franklin Bridge, there's about 20 barges out there. None of those are available. The construction business is doing very well right now. So we are left with 2 quotes, one for $66,000 and another for $24,000, neither of which are realistic. So at this point, it looks like we are planning to move it, just, I guess, retain our spot at the school that we've utilized. So the next step in that process will be a discussion with the school. I guess the only upside to not having to pay for a barge is we will have more fireworks, so it saves a little money there. But in other discussions, just so everyone is aware, we have heard from other cities throughout Pinellas County that are still, some are on the fence, some have already canceled their 4th of July fireworks. If you guys are okay with it, and our plan was still to continue forward. I mean, we've seen with the carnival this past weekend and King of the Beach is upcoming. I mean, there's way for us to do events responsibly, and with it being in the school site, as long as they're okay with it, I think we can continue to manage that in a safe way and, enjoy 4th of July. So that's kind of the update. I wanted to see if you all had any questions or anything.
No, for me, I say move forward. We'll do it at the school.
Okay. Well, if you know anybody that has some spare money lying around, we are going to be looking for sponsors, so that'll help as well. Make a bigger and better fireworks show that we can get some more eyes on Madeira. So anyway, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Any public comment on this before we move forward? Next is the contract with Saltwater Destinations. Commissioner Andrews.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Truthfully, I hate this topic, actually, as we go forward with it. I was glad to see quite a bit of movement on some of these issues. I do like the letters that went out to the vendors, and I think it's not personal. This is just kind of where the business is. I think some other things came to light here that I'm not going to call them disturbing. It just kind of takes me for a loop. I think this contract is poorly done. unless somebody can explain to me why we have these guys having access at Archibald and then not again until 136th through 130th. I don't really understand why the contract was written that way. So, and nobody, I think, was here when this contract was written initially. These guys signed an old contract anyway that was just kind of left over from a previous administration. So I guess that kind of throws me off a little bit. But I do appreciate what the documents that Saltwater Destination dropped off this week. I mean, I think, and again, I'll refer to what Vice Mayor Price said last week, that she had nothing in front of her to look at. I think these maps and these diagrams that they sent out kind of give us a real good look at who owns what on the beach, where people own to the sand and where they don't. So I think that's, that gives us a really good jumping off point. Guys, can you come to the podium real quick? I got a couple of questions I'd like to ask you. Once again, thanks for putting that together, because that's a really good document.
Thanks for sharing the air conditioning with us.
You're welcome. It was a warm day out there. I don't know the answer to this. How long have you guys been out there on the beach?
4 years.
4 years now, okay. And, it was February this year the first time you guys discussed with city staff your desire to expand your business?
No.
Okay. How about, was February the first time you ever made a reference to the competitors' shares at County Beach and other Mad Beach locations?
No, absolutely not.
Okay. And just lastly, was I the only city employee you expressed this info to?
No.
Okay. That's important because I think you guys watched the last meeting, and that's why you put together that package. You probably also saw that it was openly stated as a fact that until February 2021, you guys were all quote-unquote happy, and you never informed anyone of your expansion desires or your concerns over uncontracted competition, or that they were driving on the beach. So my question is, were you guys all silent until February 2021 about all that stuff?
No, we expressed concern before.
Okay.
We put this packet together as an aid.
Yep.
We did hear your questions about property lines and having that in front of you. We've been over this with the sheriff's deputy. We've been over this with Mr. Hatch. We've been over this with the previous commission, previous city managers, and current commissioners. Current city manager, we've met a couple times. Yeah, this was to help aid, and I know Mr. Hendricks, you referenced a couple times in the last workshop and meeting about a possible subcontract. It's why we included the contract, because it clearly states that we cannot, and we don't want to. We want to follow the terms of our contract and follow the ordinances of the city as we have been doing for the last 4 years. So this was just to help aid, so everybody got eyes on it, no more confusion, and we're here to answer any questions. We're happy to be here.
Cool. So, and look, this is, it's nothing personal. I like the other two vendors on the beach a lot, actually.
No, this is purely business.
And this can be a little uncomfortable, but now at least there's some eyeballs on this stuff, and we can, we found out through this thing that the contract was ridiculous that we put together, apparently. But I would kind of bet you that if we went to these guys with an addendum and eliminated uncontracted vendors, I think these guys might be willing to throw us a couple extra bucks in our new deal. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. And I also like the fact that our beach would be uniform and nobody would be riding out there for free. So that's kind of my whole point on it. Bob, have we heard anything from the county?
Not yet. I'm taking the tack of going to the assistant county administrator, since the county administrator's been busy, and I'm trying that next.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's been a month, so I'm a little uncomfortable with the fact that we don't have anybody we can talk to at the county within 24 hours. I mean, this isn't the state, it's the county, so I would hope we get a little bit quicker response and get taken a little bit more serious on this. But, I digress. I do like some of the steps that have been taken. I would like, and I hope everybody agrees, just to get an update on this every meeting to see where we are. I don't think it's fair to anybody that one group's paying and the other groups aren't, so I think we have to come to some kind of conclusion on that. But, you know, I think if, and this is the thing I brought up about these guys, a couple weeks ago, if we can't get our house in order, I think we ought to, at the next meeting, if the report that we got is not satisfactory, we should vote and see if we should kind of suspend their payments until we get our stuff together. So that's all I really have, guys. Thank you.
Do you want to say anything about that?
If I can update you a little bit, when we started doing the research, and I asked those same questions that you had, Commissioner, about why is there a gap? And I think what had happened was when the original RFP went out, there was talk of the beach accesses, and that's how they kind of granted or awarded the winning bid, was because of the beach accesses. So in the document, and I didn't see that it's in the packet, so I'll make sure at the meeting that you all have a copy of the RFP document. I apologize, it's not in the packet. But in that, it said the intention was to have one vendor service the beaches, but they didn't want to have chairs everywhere along the beach. So I think when it went from the winning bid into the contractual form, that's when they pretty much took those areas that they had talked about. And I've met with two of the parties involved. Obviously, I've met with Tyler and Tyler a couple of times already, and I met with Nick Simons a couple of times already. So, you know, I understand, but what it boils down to is they have an agreement. They have a right to be in those areas.
You right here.
I'm sorry.
I've read the agreement. There is nothing in the agreement that says the exclusive beach vendor will be saltwater destination.
That's what I was getting to.
Not 6 times in this contract, it specifically states where the concession locations are. And they are Archibald Park, South Beach, also known as Johns Pass Beach, and 7th Street End. So I don't care what condominiums got in front of their place. I don't care, because we're already restricted. We can't kick people off of the county park and put these guys in, because these guys don't have the contract for the county park.
Correct.
So, number one, you contacting Mr. McNamara and Mr. Simmons and telling them that the city of Madeira Beach has an exclusive contract with Saltwater Destination is not true.
That's correct.
And that this franchise gives them the rights to operate their business on all city Madeira Beach is not true.
That's correct.
So, and let me ask you this, since we got Saltwater here, did you give notice to the city in writing pursuant to page 14 of the agreement that says if you think the city is in breach of the agreement, you must send a letter, either certified or hand-delivered, to our city manager and explain what the issue was and give us 30 days to cure? Did that ever occur?
No.
All right.
Not
So
as long as I've been
number
here.
one. You know, we have to read the contract. That's the operative document. And if the contract says that these gentlemen get the right to 9 locations, we can't start kicking people off locations outside those 9. I mean, it's crazy. I can't, we almost voted to give these guys money back when it wasn't even, this is why I like to have this stuff in advance.
We never asked for a break on the rent.
Right.
We've never disputed it.
Right.
Even during the COVID shutdown, when we were on phone conference meetings, we intended on paying every single thing.
I know
However,
you did. And we gave you a break, as I
we are
recall.
the only ones out there who are on city beach, per these property lines, who is paying the city. And I don't care if you keep me in those access ways. That's fine. However, you have other vendors on city property generating revenue, and you're not seeing a red cent for it.
I agree, all should pay, absolutely. I agree with you 100% and with Commissioner Andrews on that.
And if
I
the
don't like
county
that
park
this got weird.
becomes a
But-
bid out, then it's fair game to anyone. I understand that. It's not in our contract.
Right,
And we intend on bidding on that, if that's how you guys want to do it.
right.
We're not here to say, we're going to expand and throw chairs all over the beach. But if it's city beach, if people come and put money in that parking meter, if people come and spend money on city beach, you all and this city deserves a piece of it, and you haven't been getting it. That's why I gave you the property lines, so you could see. And within those pictures, those are outdated. I can tell you over the last week, even after Bob's letter, whether it was on time or not, there has been more equipment brought out by other companies on city beach, expanding into those access ways.
I don't know if we even have the right to run them off. I'm assuming we do, and maybe we should, if they're on city beaches.
You have a right to something because you are the board of this city.
Right.
And that beach belongs to you.
Right.
However you want to manage it, go for it. But because we have this contract, it may not say exclusive, but there's one contract. That's exclusive enough for me to say, right?
Unfortunately, the law says what's on the pages of this contract is what we have to work with.
Okay, I understand.
And now I know why it was limited to just those 9 locations, is because we didn't want chairs all up and down the whole beach.
Right, so you have other companies
Then our job is...
that's out of your control.
Right? Our job is not to pay you back,
I
because...
didn't ask for that, and I don't intend on asking for that. I mean,
And
I
if you think
appreciate
we've
and
breached the
understand
contract,
where that comes from, but those are words and things we never asked for. That's
Right.
not our intention.
right,
Our intention is to give you more, if you allow us to operate in areas that we're already paying for.
you are certainly allowed to operate in every one of the locations.
And
In the
so are
contract.
other companies.
Yeah, Commissioner, we're not restricting any other companies. We have one contract. You're right, it doesn't say exclusive, but we have one.
We need to
We have one
kick
contract.
the
We have
other
no
ones
other
out
contract,
of
so
city-
nobody else should be on the beach.
Right.
If on our property, including County Beach, it's not County Beach, it's our beach. The property lines are drawn specifically. County Beach signed a contract, and that's why I'm a little disappointed that after a month, we haven't even let County Beach know that they're in violation of this. They shouldn't have been signing another
They
contract.
aren't in violation. That's what I'm
They're-
telling
they're-
you.
They have a parking lot. That's what they own. They own the parking lot. We own the beach outside of the parking lot. They don't own to the, they don't own
So
those.
if we have a beef with the county getting money from the vendors that are on there, then our beef should be to talk to the county and say,
That's what I've
you
been
got-
asking. Happy, that's all I've been asking for. All I've been asking for is that we have a conversation with the county and find out what's up. That's all I've asked for.
now you've
honestly.
asked for us to kick everybody off of Madeira Beach.
Wait a minute. That's
So-
not, my first comment was, let's find out what's going on there and why, let's find out, we didn't even know where the property lines were on February 24th, okay? When somebody came in and said, well, there are property lines there.
Yeah.
So then we asked for the contract, okay? And they signed a contract with the county to be a vendor. You know what, according to the contract with the county, they're allowed to sell food out there. They can put a food truck out there. We don't allow food trucks out there, so they're gonna violate our city rules. All I wanna do, just get somebody from the county here. I'll talk to them. I don't care. Well, I'm not allowed to. Let's get somebody here so we can discuss this, so we can figure it out. There should be only, if we have one contract, I don't care if we have chairs in the different spots you're talking about, you don't wanna have chairs. We didn't decide on that, by the way. Somebody else decided on that years ago. But there's chairs all over the beach anyway, so what's the difference? My point is, if we have one contract, we have to honor that one contract. If we're just gonna willy-nilly allow, we did this with yoga years ago. They had people running yoga classes all over the beach, taking up different beaches, when we had an exclusive contract with one yoga company. So we had to be the jerks and go, oh, we've been doing this for 20 years. Okay, well, can't do it anymore, okay? You don't have a license to do it, we've licensed it out to somebody else. Okay, it's our beach, we can license it out to whatever we wanna do. So that's where I'm a little taken back by it. I never said kick everybody off the beach. I said, let's enforce our laws. That's all we gotta do. Enforce our areas.
I don't know if we...
What are you talking about? Happy, it's our
No,
land.
no, let me finish
Okay.
the sentence. We are not in violation of anything as it stands right here, right now, right? We are not, there is no violation. We haven't breached the contract with, the saltwater
Destination.
destinations. We allow them to put their chairs exactly where they want to be put. I
You've
disagree
also
with
allowed
that.
other
We're
businesses
leaving
to
money on the
operate on
table.
city beach.
You
You've
know.
allowed other businesses to operate on city beach and expand on city beach
Okay, then.
without
this is a-
contract, without payment,
Right,
in
That's my
our
question.
areas that are listed in the contract.
so then,
I will send the remedy letter
Or let
tomorrow.
her finish.
please. So if you're telling me there's other vendors in the 9 locations listed in your contract,
Yes.
right? Then,
I'll send you the remedy letter tomorrow, and then 30 days.
well, then we just simply get our policemen out there and kick them off. We don't have to, but definitely follow the contract on how to cure
That's fine.
issues between the two of us.
Okay,
Yeah,
I thought as we've all worked together over the years, we could come to you guys and talk to you guys with this information, and it would be open and shut. I've already spoke with the sheriff's deputies, and they're 100% behind us and behind you guys. They're more than willing to work with every single one of us. So here we go. We'll send the letter tomorrow, and we'll go from there.
Right.
Fair?
Just because you send a letter doesn't mean,
No, you have
Requirement of
30
the trade.
days to remedy or not, right?
well, all I'm saying is,
I know how it reads. I understand, and I'm sorry we didn't go through that
because you send a
protocol.
letter doesn't mean we've breached anything. I'm saying we haven't breached anything.
And nor have we.
I don't know if there's any obligation in this, because I don't see it, where we have to chase off your competitors, right? I think we do have an obligation to tell our sheriff to get out there and shoo them away or put them back where they belong.
You're right.
Whatever contract. But I don't think the city would be in breach of this contract just because someone else is encroaching. Now, I would rather you guys be all up and down our entire beach, as far as I'm concerned. I've had nothing but good experiences with you and the people I've dealt with. And maybe we redo this the next time around, or make an addendum if we want to expand you. I personally think this would be a good way, good leverage with the county to get in and have them give us back that parking lot. Is that,
Well,
you know,
when I did broach the parking lot before, the answer was hell no, but this is a situation, and I have communicated an email to, Barry Burton, the county administrator. He knows these situations. He knows that there's a violation if they do vend on the beach that we intend to enforce. Now, the beach chair factor, that's the thing. I wanted to sit down with them. Let's have a meeting. And 2 weeks ago, I've asked for the meeting. I've asked for it like 3 times. So,
maybe the commission needs to ask for it.
well,
Ask for a representative from the county to come and explain to us, or,
okay.
give us their position on this.
I've got a few things I'd like to say. One is, of course, you guys have the right to use the beach accesses. And if people are encroaching into your area, that will be enforced. There are other areas that are not in the contract, in front of condominiums, where people have chairs. Their chairs are fine on private property. The rub there comes in when they're bringing those chairs onto city property. And I'm trying to think outside of the box here. And maybe what the city needs to do is go to these condominium associations and set a fee per lineal foot, whether it's $1 a month or 50. I'm using $1 per lineal foot per month just as an example, so don't hold my feet to the fire on that. But if they've got 300 lineal feet, then the condo association pays $300 per month to be able to put their chairs out on that part of the public beach in front of their condominium association. That way the city's getting revenue. The people that have contracts with those condominium associations still have the ability to have their business. The condo association is taking a small hit, but they've got chairs for their residents and for their vacation renters. And I think it might alleviate a lot of this squabbling, because you guys have all gotten along pretty well over the years as far as I know. at least you, Tyler, and Nick. I don't know about the one at County Park. And County Park has their chairs out so far that as the tide changes, the waves are coming in and hitting their chairs and umbrellas. They're right out there. And so when I talk about this fee per lineal foot of city property, that goes for the people that are vending at County Park also. They can't put their chairs out like that and line it up all the way from one end to the other and Barefoot Beach. I mean, I was out there last week and there's this row going on, it seemed like forever, of their umbrellas and chairs. So that's just a thought, and I'm just trying to think outside the box to try to find some solutions to a problem that we've got.
We understand, we have no issue with private property.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not where our concern
Barefoot
lies.
Beach owns all the beach up to the water, according to page
I
29.
think there are a few areas that's not the case. Is that correct? Nick, you know that, I think, don't you? May I ask for Nick to come up just for a minute?
Mayor, Nick Simons, Beach Service West. I'd just like to start by saying I had a meeting with the city manager. Beach Service West has been on Madeira Beach for 40 years. We're not doing anything differently than what we've been doing for the last 40 years. All of a sudden, this issue of property line services, so, which is private and public. So, for instance, the issue at Beach Place Condominium, for all the years that we've been operating out there, nobody ever said that the property line was here and this is where you have to put your chairs. So for 40 years, we've had our chairs at an arbitrary line, but back from the water. And we're not doing anything any differently than what we've been doing for 40 years. So I did take some records from the property appraiser's office, and I don't have copies, unfortunately, but this is something I'd just like everybody to see. This is what we do. This was in a postcard at a saltwater taffy box in Walmart. And it says, "Greetings from Madeira Beach." So my equipment hasn't changed in 40 years. The location of where we put that equipment hasn't changed in 40 years. So my question is, what's the issue now?
Because now we have a contract, and we want to extend the contract to these gentlemen for all Madeira Beach sands as much as we can, because it's revenues to the city, and it's revenues to these young entrepreneurs. And when I look at Beach Place, I see you've got about a third of the beach in your property.
Yes, ma'am.
So, and then there's a whole line of, at least in the picture I'm looking at in the packet, there's a whole line of chairs and umbrellas beyond that. And because beyond that belongs to the city wants to get some revenue out of it. That's what's changed.
Okay,
And also, these young men have the right to put their equipment on South Beach or Johns Pass Beach, which is right next to you all, and they're finding that whoever is putting beach chairs out is encroaching onto where they should be. I don't know if that's happening specifically at Beach Place.
I'm not encroaching anywhere where their contractual locations are.
Okay, good. So, because that's not what I heard last time we had this discussion. But as of right now, it looks like your condominium has beach chairs and umbrellas on Madeira Beach-owned property. And we're trying to clean it up. We're trying to make it more uniform, and you may be one of the condominiums that's asked to pay towards whatever solution we come to up here. If we come to one of your, think outside the box kind of solutions, because we can't have people, concessionaires especially, putting out beach chairs on land, city land, that conceivably should go to these young gentlemen, should we negotiate that with them.
So, in the 40 years that I've been operating out there, we pay the condominium association. They furnish us the guest, so we compensate them for that. I'm not looking to rent my equipment to somebody who wants to come and put money in a pay meter or pay by plate and come use my chairs. My market is the vacationer who comes and rents that condominium for a week. And again, in 40 years, it's never been an issue. And quite honestly, I've worked side by side with these guys and not had an issue until the last couple of weeks. Now, regarding my chairs, Beach Service West chairs being on city property, again, because nobody said anything for 40 years, my chairs are where they've been for 40 years. And you know, if you're gonna tell me that I can't put those chairs where I've been keeping them for 40 years, that may be a problem down the road.
Maybe. I don't know how this is gonna shake out, frankly.
Well, the mayor's had a suggestion, but I don't know how that would be received, but anyhow, now, on the north end of the beach, the property lines show where my chairs are, like Las Risas stretch. You have those pictures?
Not in front of me, I gotta find it.
Okay.
I didn't put this together, so I'm not familiar with it. This is who's next to you? Is that, what's your,
Las Risas, Seaview, Zero Vista.
in our packet?
Yeah, 76 at 141.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, yes. Looking at what they own, probably it looks like a little more than half the beach. I don't know if all these pictures were taken with the same tide or not, but Las Risas property line looks like it extends out, well, I'm looking at the wrong one, a little further than yours.
Barefoot Beach is one of our locations, Barefoot Beach.
Barefoot Beach is all the way to the water,
Yep.
from what I could see.
Do I have my chairs there?
Pardon me?
I have our chairs there in front of Barefoot Beach?
I don't know.
Well, I'm telling you, we do.
Oh, okay, yeah, and that's fine, because your property goes all the way to the water at Barefoot Beach. So that's the distinction.
But I didn't take a picture, but Saltwater Destinations has put chairs in front of mine in front of Barefoot Beach.
Well, they're allowed to put it at 133rd.
Not Barefoot Beach.
No.
Thank you. So, again, in my meeting with the city manager, I showed pictures of other beaches around the state of Florida where the property lines, for instance, Sand Pearl and Clearwater Beach, the Hilton, where they put chairs westward of the city of Clearwater Beach property lines. I showed him a picture of the Yankee Clipper in Fort Lauderdale the same way. So, and I have pictures which, you know, again, I don't have enough to distribute to everybody, but it's not an uncommon practice for a condominium association or a hotel or a resort that makes an arrangement with a concessionaire such as myself to put chairs on the beach and maybe exceed that so-called imaginary line where the property line is. It's not an unusual practice. So, you know, again, and I'm not asking to do anything any differently than what we've been doing for 40 years. I intend to continue to do what I'm doing, and if someone tries to stop us from doing that, I think there's gonna be some consequences that are gonna affect everybody. Questions? Okay, thank you.
Nick, wait a minute,
Sorry?
I'm gathering my thoughts here, but I had mentioned, a fee to the condo associations for using their part, where they're located of the city's beach. And I wanna ask you about that.
Well, I think that's a great idea, because guess who would wind up paying that fee?
Well, we're emptying their garbage cans right now and have been for years too, and raking that beach in front of their condos. So I think that's certainly worth a little something to be able to get.
Well, I agree.
From
I agree.
that. So I don't, you know, and that that eliminates a large problem of, what we're going through here tonight. If they're paying by lineal foot for the width of their property on the city's beach.
Right.
And we'll continue to pick up the trash, and we'll continue to rake the beach. But I don't think that's an unreasonable request to go to the condo associations. If they don't want to do that, then, as you were saying, we've got a problem.
Right. Well, Mayor, I think it's certainly a subject worth broaching. I would dare say that the Board of Directors of Beach Place Condominium Association probably has no idea where that property line is between the city property. And actually, Beach Place, as you look in your pictures, they don't own very much of that beach. Beach Place Condominium doesn't. And Seabreeze is even worse.
There's a couple that don't appear to have much beach at all, and some that go way out.
Right, so
Don't have to have that happen.
the ones where there's an issue, I think, in my opinion, I think we need to come up with a fee schedule and touch base with them. The fact that we have been raking the beach that they're using and emptying garbage cans for years, and it's time to pay up to be able to have their chairs out on that part of the beach and to participate in taking care of Madeira Beach.
I was just advised, we do not rake the private beaches. They use the other vendor that's out there.
On the private beach. I'm talking about the city part of the beach. We rake that, correct? Yeah. So, we rake the city part of the beach in front of their property. So, that's what I'm saying, is that's a service that they need to pay for. That's just my thought on it anyhow.
Thank you.
But we seem to have trouble with enforcing contracts and things like that. So what you're saying is we're gonna have basically a contract with every condominium or hotel that we're gonna have to handle complaints and between neighbors and things like that. I don't think we wanna do that.
No, we're not going to be handling complaints between neighbors. All we're saying basically is that they're paying a fee per lineal foot to be able to put chairs on the beach and to be able to have the beach clean. It's a part of keeping the beach clean. We empty their garbage cans on a daily basis. We rake the beach probably, is that a day, 5 times a week? We rake their beach 5 times a week. We empty the garbage, and we're not getting a penny for that. And I think that should be all a part of this package to these condos, and we eliminate what we're going through on this with, is this the property line? Is this the property line? Are my chairs far enough back? Are they too far forward? I think it eliminates all that, but that's just my thought, I'm just throwing that out there to get other people's feelings on this.
No, Mr. Mayor, I love the idea. Here's the issue. We're the only person so far that's been, in the current situation, that's cut out of the mix, right? So, and Nick actually explained it perfectly. First of all, there's nothing we can do if anybody that has has private beach to the water line.
Right.
They're allowed to do whatever they want, knock themselves out, that's great. But these ones that are kind of split in half or have a certain amount of room, or have no beach at all, there's where the issue is gonna lie. Because for years, if Nick has a contract with them or somebody else has a contract with them, these guys, they don't care. They're saying, yeah, go ahead, do it, and then Nick pays them at some point, right? So they're getting money. And now we're gonna turn around and we're gonna say, not only are you not gonna get any money, why don't you fork over, $200, $300, $400, depending on how much square footage you have. So there's where the rub's gonna be. So how do we introduce this? And it's gonna be difficult. So the only thing we can really, in my opinion, the only thing we can really do is follow the fault line and follow the property line and keep anybody, if the condos wanna go outside of the grid and they wanna do that, that's fine. They can contract Nick or they can contract anybody they want to do the chairs inside their property. But anything outside the property, that is something we should, when we redo this, or when we go out for bid again on this contract, let's make it easy. Let's simplify this whole thing. I think that's kind of what we're brought everybody together tonight for, is let's simplify the whole thing. Have one contract that is for any Madeira Beach property, so we're not trying to draw lines in the sand. Okay, well, this is the 130th access point, and that goes to, well, where does it go to? Does it go to here? Does it go to here? Okay, at 136, where do we stop it? I mean, when somebody gets off the access ramp at 136, where does where does our property line end? Our property line doesn't end. So we've got a kind of imaginary line there where we're trying to figure it out. That's why clean the thing up, one vendor, make it a nice big bid. If we get the county beach on there as well, we can ask for a heck of a lot more money, because, I mean, if you guys have walked by County Beach, I mean, it kind of looks and these guys will admit, and Nick sees it every day too, they got chairs out there about as many as Archibald has. So there's money to be had there, and we're the only one getting cut out of the mix on this. So I do agree with your concept. I don't know how we're going to be able to sell that to a condo board, though.
If I may, I know Director Hatch wants to speak on the issue, but the other thing is we have two sets of rules. You know, we have the rules of allowing individuals to go out on city beach with their beach chairs, and then we hold saltwater destination to rules in their contract where they can't put chairs out. They have to rent the chair, they bring it out, they set it up. When you go to the county beach, they put all these chairs out there, so the mom and pop with their kids come out there with their own beach chairs. There's nowhere for them to put them because they've already pre-positioned all of their assets on the beach. And I think that's why in our regulations, we don't want that. So how do we get people that work on the city beach under this proposal to follow all of our rules, and you have a contract? So then we get back to the RFP and doing it all in one piece. Otherwise, I don't know how you can monitor it. And then it's really unfair to them that we're going to hold their feet to the fire, and this is the way you should be doing it. And they've been our vendor for 4 years. So, but if we can, I'd like to have Director Hatch speak on the issue, if you all don't mind.
Well, at a minimum, we need to get the county park situation addressed,
Yes.
because now the county is violating our laws, basically.
And they have a contract, I believe it's for 3 more years in there.
Well, we can at least, I mean, that's not our fault.
Right, no,
How do you contract on our property?
I realize it.
You know?
When you email people or even speak to them on the phone, sometimes they get the wrong impression. I think we want to work this out.
Clearly worded
where it's
letter
amicable.
never hurts.
Right.
And it's a backup I've been trying to set this meeting with you since March 15 or whatever. All right, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Good evening again. So I think this has gotten a little bit muddied up with discussions of expansion, this and that. What I'm going to say, I want everybody to view as the way things are right now, as it stands today. There is a beach contract with Saltwater Destination with the city of Madeira Beach. There is a county contract for County Park, whether or not it's our land. There are 2 contracts. As far as Saltwater Destination is concerned, they have followed that contract to the T, with the exception of maybe that 30-day clause, but we have a very open-door conversation all the time. We try to work their stuff. The county beach contract has rights to County Park. They currently have chairs at 7 locations. Specifically within their contract, it says that they cannot operate outside of their contracted area, and they are. As good stewards of our own contract, we are trying to clean this up. And as far as, if you go to page 21 in their packet, I'm very familiar with this because I actually put this together when the previous city manager was here, and we had some discussions. It was handed off to that office, and it stopped there. So, and the city manager and I, this time around, had discussions with all 3 locations back in 2018, before COVID hit, and we were assured that there would be no expansion. There would be, yes, they would listen to us, all that stuff. And as you can tell, so this list that was prepared in 2017 is actually longer now because they have gone further north and south and they're operating in different locations. So regardless of all this other expansion talk, if you look at the top half of this list, the Beach Service West, the important thing to note, and whether or not it's Madeira Beach or a private beach, look at the business tax license line. There's a lot of no's there. Beach Place, which we were just speaking about, and I don't know if that's changed since then, but there's no business tax license for that location. So being told what we're going to do on our beach by somebody who does not have a business tax license is very interesting to me.
Yep.
We have a contract with the others, and then the same thing. I have 4 locations for sand dunes listed with business tax licenses, which they shouldn't have 3 of them, and they're now at 7 locations. So it's just being good stewards of the contract that we have with one organization. It's our responsibility to clean up the beach. And we're working towards that. And I understand that there's a lot of, who owns the beach, who doesn't own the beach, who has a business tax license. We've got to make sure that we're clear so we know exact locations. And then there are a few locations on there that they're private condos, and they have like 10 or 15 feet of their own beach, and they've got a handful of chairs that are sitting out there that are their own. And that's a discussion that we need to have with the Leave No Trace thing. We don't mind that they have chairs, their own chairs, that they carry out, or maintenance people or whatever, but it just, there's a lot in there. And I know we keep jumping into this expansion thing. To me, that's not even part of the discussion. And I'm not going to speak on behalf of their business or whatever else. They may have that interest, they may not. It's just, we have to get our house in order, and I know that's the goal of the city manager. I know that Commissioner Andrews is familiar with some of this before when he was here, and it's gotten to the point where it's out of hand. At the age of 35, I've been driving for what? I'm not great at math, but I've been speeding that entire time. It doesn't make it legal, but I'm still doing it. So if we talk about the business that's on our beach that shouldn't be operated, we're looking at the legal issues. We're not looking at, I've been doing that forever. It needs to be cleaned up. So, I'm planning not to say anything, but I got a little agitated with all that stuff. So I think we've got the responsibility to do it and talk about it the way it is now. Let's fix it now. And if there's other opportunities, who knows? Because we're going to have conversations with this, the private folks are going to want to have beach chairs. And for our business tax license and their private property, they can do that. That's great. And we'll do that. And I know that, there's going to be some sort of working together on that. So this isn't personal. This is business. It's got to be done right, because we're getting a lot of complaints about beach chairs in different locations and who has this and who does what. And I had this bad experience, and, let's look back at that. You guys want a fun thing to look at tonight? Go back to that, go to TripAdvisor. Look at the best beaches in the United States and look at the ratings. Those 5 stars, all you got to do is hit the search bar and hit beach chairs. You'll see certain names mentioned multiple times, and then you can go to some of the other ones and you'll see different names as well. So you just got to take a look. I mean, they're serving this city and this community on a daily basis, and we're just kind of letting everything else go. So we're working on that, and that's, I know we're all on the same page here. So I just wanted to kind of jump into that. So if you guys have any questions or anything, but yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
This list of beach chair locations says Beach Place Condominiums is using Beach Service West, Inc.
Yeah, they're 2 different places. He was speaking on behalf of his chair organization, not the condo.
Okay, so in front of Beach Place,
Mm-hmm.
postcard that I was shown, that belongs to the condo or those Beach Service West chairs? Is my question.
The condo is Beach Place. The chair company is Beach Service West.
Right.
They're not affiliated.
Okay.
As far as I
this
know.
list that says Beach Service West is putting their chairs in front of Beach Place condominiums is true, or because?
That's the one closest to South Beach.
Right.
Yes. There are now at least.
Is that what we were just discussing? Okay, and you represent Beach Services West, Inc.? Got it. Got it. I say we immediately send the police out and ask that Airy Dam, Sea Breeze, All Seasons, Beach Place Condominiums, Shoreline Island Resort, and Sunny Shores all move their beach chairs back onto their property and off of city land. I mean, those are the ones in this list that show concessionaires have property on Madeira Beach.
And that was really my intent out of that letter that we sent out to the vendors, is the fact that they don't have authority to be on the city beach.
Well, we need to just say, you don't have authority to be on City Beach.
Right,
Not that somebody else has the contract.
right.
There's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 6 locations that we could take care of tomorrow.
If it's okay with the commission, I'd like to come up with some options. You know, there's a range, obviously the mayor's suggestion, we'd like to explore and come back either at the regular meeting or even just doing a workshop related to this one topic, and come out with direction, and then we go through and do what we have to do. And, you know, obviously with knowing that there could be civil litigation on what action we take about some of these firms, I do want to make sure that we have Mr. Trask on board to
Absolutely.
guide us as we go through this. But I think it's something, I agree, we need to work on within a short time frame to come up with some resolve. And I'd like to be able to have some options for the commission, that way you can deal with it and choose what you think is the best one, or maybe, you know, we come up with something else as a solution too.
Yes, if you can come up with some options for us.
Okay.
As I understand it, they do not need a separate license for each location. They can have a license for their business and list each location. Is that correct?
They need a license for every location.
Do they? Okay.
Okay, so do we want a separate meeting, a separate workshop, or do we want to take it to the April meeting?
We want to take this to the next workshop, Bob?
Well, the next workshop's going to be basically 4 weeks from now. I was kind of hoping that we could meet, you know, either on one of the off Wednesdays, that we can, you know, have a separate, an additional workshop just to deal with the beach chairs.
Okay, how much time do you need?
About 2 weeks, so maybe the week in between the two meetings, but I don't know, we got to check with schedules and stuff. So if I can report back to you all, I'll send out an email, and hopefully by Friday, when we could meet.
Okay. All right, thank you. Is there any public comment on this?
Robert Preston, 425 South Bayshore Drive, Madeira Beach. So as far as the county administrator, not getting back to our city manager, we have a county commissioner that represents city of Madeira Beach, which is Kathleen Peters. If we're not getting satisfaction from the administrator, then we need to contact our county commissioner that represents us. I've heard her up here talking about what she can do for us. So maybe she's a willing participant, and we're going about this the wrong way. That's point one. I think there's other routes to go. 2, it's probably a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, I remember all this coming up before, when the Tylers got up here and spoke. The previous administration decided not to do anything about it. And it seems like not until just recently this administration is maybe gonna do something with it. We need to stop kicking this can down the road and get it settled. Get a contract that is appropriate. If people aren't supposed to be on our beach, we have a sheriff's department, have them take care of it. And the other thing that my understanding is that during turtle season and all this other stuff, when these people leave their beach chairs and all this stuff out on the beach, they're not supposed to be there. And we don't enforce that either. So, you know, the city is falling down on their job here to the community. Bottom line. Quit kicking the can. Thank you.
City Manager, is there any email on this?
Not on this topic, no.
Next is election campaign bank accounts. City Clerk Van Blargen.
Yes. I had my assistant, Patty Cordes, she contacted, several nearby cities and asked if any of their candidates had any problem opening a campaign account. She did get a response, from Treasure Island. One of the candidates was required to get an EIN number with the bank, and that was, Fifth Third, and he said it took about 3 minutes after he submitted his online application, he received his EIN number. Some of the EIN numbers are permanent numbers and some are not, and in the packet for the candidate packet, I'll have instructions on the application and suggest that they fill that application out before they do the online application, and that would help, you know, and have all the information, and there won't be any problems on doing the online application. But I'm trying to prepare everything and for that topic to go into those books and explain it to the candidates. But the other ones, they didn't have, their bank didn't ask them for a EIN number, but it's slowly getting that way with all the banks. You know, it's growing. I spoke to another county, their supervisor of elections, and she said in their county a lot of the banks are now requesting the EIN number, but it doesn't take long to get it, and the number is permanent, but when you go through the application, there are certain areas where you do have to redo it each time, but it doesn't, depending on why you need it. But you learn that once you get in there. But it doesn't take long at all, just a few minutes to get that EIN number. You can, if you plan to run again, you can actually apply for that EIN number before qualifying period starts.
Yeah, Claire, if I can just kind of hop in here for a second. I think the issue really wasn't us going to a bank or anything like that. I think that the law was so new that the banks didn't even have an idea what was going on. And I think, and hopefully by the next time around, I would imagine that they're going to become a little bit more familiar with it. I mean, they looked at me like I had 3 heads when I walked in there. They were like, yeah, you got to have a business set up. I go, what are you talking about? No. So, yeah, I think they'll be better set up. I ended up doing it without an EIN number. You can attach a campaign account if you have an account at a bank, and just, I listed it as Douglas Andrews campaign account, and nobody had an issue with it. So I think that's probably the easier way of the two. But, you know, I guess in more, and I think I understand why they're doing it. In bigger elections, not for small municipal elections, some of the money that's going around, you could probably get, by doing it the way I did it, you probably get accused of colluding your money and things like that. So they make you open up basically your own corporation to do it. So, but I think they'll be better. I think they'll be better suited next time through. I just thought it was and I'm glad Dave brought it up and put it on the thing, because it was an interesting experience. That's for sure, because you're kind of rushed. I mean, you only have a certain amount of time to get the bank account opened up, and you're sitting there and nobody, I mean, I got, basically Bank of America told me to leave, and I got 3 accounts with them. I'm like, what? Hold on a second. So luckily we got it done. But thank you for looking into it. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Anything that I can do and learn to make next year better is great. You know, I'm happy to do that and to provide more information and more education to the candidates.
Any public comment on this? Next is requirements for new Public Works Director. I guess everyone went through the list of requirements that we have now. I know I made some notes when I went through. On page 120, role and responsibilities, a couple of things I saw and that I would like to add. Search out and obtain grants. It'd be good to have someone with some skills in being able to do that for the city. Cut costs, being able to think out of the box. And on page, that may have been it. Those were the main things that I noticed and I would like to see in there. But anyone else got anything or anything they think needs to be stricken?
I just have a few things to add. Again, you know, I know this is the city manager's hire and his hire alone, but kind of given the route we went last time for the Public Works Director, I think this does warrant a discussion. Now, you know, the one thing I want to bring up, everybody can feel comfortable about doing this. We're not invading anything. The charter gives us permission. I can read you the thing if you want, but we do have our right to express our views and fully and freely discuss with the manager anything pertaining to the appointment. What I do want to bring up is kind of this engineering thing. Master's degree in engineering experience is preferred. Let me just step back. You know, personally, I liked Jamie. I really did. And some people said I was pretty hard on him. But remember, this isn't on-the-job training at the director level and above. This is a multi-million-dollar business that we're all running here. So hiring people without the proper skill set and paying them director wages is really detrimental to our overall business model. So it was never personal. It was really just business. Hiring somebody with an engineering degree to be a public works director, to me, is a tremendous error because, you know, I mean, for example, I mean, I love Tom, but I'm not going to hire him as my rec director, right? He's not going to service our community best like that. He's an excellent attorney, so we got to keep him in there. And in my, you know, I think we need to agree on something. We're always, with any project that we do, we're going to need engineering consultants. Okay, like attorneys, engineers aren't one size fit all, right? We got civil engineers and architectural engineers and electrical engineers. I mean, you guys get the gist. And you know, and I voiced this. You know, I'm not no shrinking violet. I voiced my views about this hire the last time, and I was told, let it play out. You're going to see all the money we save on engineering fees. Well, tell that to the $200,000 we spent at Crystal Island. Okay, and $200K is about 2.5 times what our public director's salary is. So bottom line, unless somebody can prove otherwise, it kind of defies logic to hire somebody just because they're an engineer to do something completely different. You know, so it was kind of odd the other night. You know, we were speaking, you know, to the new public works, the interim public works director, and we were talking about things like the last time we cleaned out our stormwater pipes, which, you know, I think is pretty important on an island that's right around sea level, right? And the status of repairing our boardwalk, which seems like it's been going on forever, which I think is also important so our spring breakers don't fall into Johns Pass. So, you know, I guess really what I'm trying to say here is, you know, during budget discussion, you're going to get a lot clearer view of where our money is being allocated. I'm so happy Andrew's here because I think we're really going to be able to see now what we really didn't see before, and we're going to see it in real time, and how it differs a lot from a more simplified, less top-heavy business we used to run here. So, in closing, real quick, bottom line, I do feel strongly that the Public Works Director is not an engineering position. We need somebody with local and practical experience. We need a proven manager of people. Contacts with the county, state, and FDOT, hugely important just to get projects done. It's also not a, position in the city that should be politically influenced at all. Okay, let's just hire the best person for the job, and let's not try to say this hasn't happened before, but it's got to end. These executive level positions should never be on the job training, and we've done that in the past. Again, more shovels, less ink pens, but I think, we're going to see this, and hopefully everybody's on board. At budget time, I think we need to financially scrub a lot of these departments, because heck, we almost unnecessarily raised the millage rate last year because we didn't have all the information. Thanks, guys, that's all I have. I just wanted to put my 2 cents in.
I've got to say, I agree with you on that. I mean, we had an engineer in place, and it seemed like every time we turned around, we were wanting to get a study done on this or a study done on that. We're 4,400 people, and we can't afford all the luxuries that maybe a big city can. We need people that can, hit the floor running and not be afraid to get their hands dirty. And if they need to help jump on that backhoe to get things done, I think we need a hands-on Public Works Director.
I don't want any director-level employee having to jump on a backhoe unless there's an emergency, okay? I would like to see and I know this has probably already gone out.
I meant that
apparently we have
metaphorically.
13 applicants already, which is cool.
I think we're up to 18.
18 applicants. But I would like to see a responsibility or a role, and I've said this several times already, but someone who can take stock of city assets and create systematic plans to keep them protected or up to maintenance, I guess. But I don't have a problem with a master's degree or engineering experience is preferred. I think all things being equal, if they've got that, that's fine with me.
Yeah, the purpose behind an engineering degree is teaching you the way to think, and part of that is the long-term view instead of just fixing whatever is the problem right this instant. That's kind of like sticking your finger in a dike or something, and you need to be able to do that. But it would be nice to have somebody that does come up with this long-term plan, because we're going to have trouble with sea level rise and all sorts of other things. And how do we fix roads without flooding people's yards and homes? And it's going to get complicated.
Mm-hmm.
Well, part of my point was this is not exclusively a desk job. If you're a Public Works Director, you've got to be out and around the city and know what's going on. Years ago, we had a Public Works Director, Mike Maximo. He went to work for the city when he was 18 years old. Mike knew every nut, bolt, valve, T-trap, you name it, that this city has. He didn't go to school for it. He grew up with it, but there's a lot to be said for that experience. And I think that's something we need to look for is experience as much as whether or not they've got a degree. That's my 2 cents worth.
I was just going to say that, Public Works, that's totally different from what we're doing. It's someone in a totally different field. And we did have some good Public Works directors in the last 10 years, let's say. But I'm glad it's your job to find them. I think it's going to be great. Like I said, it is your job, and I'm sure we'll do very well.
Yeah, but always remember, okay, we're not, and I agree with you, I love to have somebody that thinks like an engineer, but we're not hiring an engineer. Remember what Public Works is. Public Works is dealing with the day-to-day things that are going on in the city, being hands-on on it, sanitation. You got all different kinds of things that go into this that, frankly, if you have an engineer that's a book-smart engineer that doesn't have managerial, I prefer somebody that's more of a manager, to be able to manage a staff and to be able to do things like that and delegate authority. And again, contacts within the county, state, and FDOT. I mean, it comes up every day that we don't have local knowledge in our positions, our executive positions in some areas, and it hurts us every single day. We need to be able to get on the phone with FDOT and have them call us back within 24 hours, or the county or the state. Okay? These are important things, guys, and to overlook them and to do what we just did, I think Chuck just said it earlier, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. I think we just had that experience. We need engineers for other things, and we contract them out all the time. This did not save us any money. It cost us money having an engineer in that position. So let's just, like I said, just my feelings, but I just want to clear that up. I don't mind. Somebody has an engineering degree and they can do all those other things. Awesome. Great. But let's not make that a priority, that's something we have to do. We have engineers that can do all those other things. And what type of engineer are we looking for? We haven't even discussed that. So this is my 2 cents, guys. Thank you.
Just for clarification, I wasn't expecting to see our Public Works Director out there running a backhoe. That was metaphorically. Is there any public comment on this? Next is land acquisition.
Before you jump.
Yes.
The due date for applications is April 1st. Obviously, I'd like to get this the information that you all gave me tonight out. So I'm probably going to be extending the date by at least a week, so everybody gets the information and can better prepare their applications.
Did we change anything on the application?
Yeah, we
Oh, okay, in the beginning, I'm
grants
sorry.
and
I'm sorry, that's not my fault.
city assets.
So I'm just asking all, is that okay, or do you want me to just try to package it and put it together and stick with the first?
Those are certainly questions you can ask in an interview rather than going through having to change everything, Bob, and
Okay.
redo it.
Sounds good.
Is there any public comment on this? Okay. Are you putting in
Chuck Dillon.
an application, Chuck?
Oh, no. I mean, but then again, I don't know, I didn't see the application, but if the application is asking for somebody with an engineering degree, and now you're kind of changing it.
It's not, it doesn't.
No.
Okay, as
It just says it's preferred
Okay.
in the job description.
I mean, and that was, sometimes postponing something for a little bit makes a greater advantage, is all I was gonna get at. Might get more applicants.
Thank you. Next is land acquisition. City Manager Daniels.
Yes, I think everybody saw the correspondence in reference to the Old Madeira Beach garage property going under contract with a deposit. I did notify the Realtor of some of the rumors that are flying around as to what's to be done with the property, or what the plans are to be done with the property. And she's on notice, but she represents the seller, and there's another Realtor that represents the buyer. So that leaves us with the Palm Street property for discussion, and I met with the appraiser on site this morning, and they're planning on having that appraisal for next week. So if there is action that the commission would like to take on it, once we have the true market value of that property by a certified appraiser, I will put it on the agenda for the meeting on the 14th, and you all can take action, or inaction if you don't.
Can we go back to the beach, or the garage for just a minute?
Sure.
If this is something that we really want to do, and it sounds like it is, can we get some of an idea of how big of a garage we need? Does it need to be in Madeira Beach, or can it be somewhere else, in one of the local communities? And are we looking for that at all? Instead of, we had an opportunity and we missed it, but maybe we need to be looking a little more seriously, or put it in. We're going to talk about budgets and things later. Maybe that's should be one of the things that we have for a possible expenditure in the future.
There were plans originally when I came on board to relocate Public Works back to where it was, which is at the marina site. The problem is that plan is in conflict with the high and dry situation, and we hope to have that report coming out here within the next couple of weeks on the high and dry. So I think this was an opportunity that came up that made some sense to it. We realized that there probably would have been some additional funds we had to commit, but when we enter into an agreement to buy property, we have to do, depending on the cost value of it, if it's less than $500,000, we need one appraisal. If it's more than $500,000, we need two separate appraisals. And so there's a process we have to follow that private industry doesn't have to follow. And I guess if we want to, we need to just, I think, streamline our procedures. And I'm look back on it, and everybody knew that it was us that was interested in the property, because we have to do everything in the public domain. So I think the only thing that we probably could have done was had a special meeting and discuss this, but I don't think we can take action on it unless we had that appraisal. And to get that appraisal, we're talking about the middle of April, so we wouldn't have met the time frame.
It was a month ago when I asked for an appraisal.
Right, and that's when we ordered it, and
it took a month?
Oh, believe me, even today when I met the appraisers, they said that this is something because they have to go look for comparable properties and stuff, and they said that this one was going to take them a while to get it done. And I'm not an appraiser, so I don't know, but I know there's a set criteria that we have to follow, and I thought we'd be able to at least put a contract together, and before we close, put the stipulation in there that we'd get the second appraisal, because again, that would take some time to get a second appraiser. So.
Well, I'm sorry we lost it, but that's it, and we just move on, that's all. But, sure.
Okay. I just wanted to ask, on the parking that we have going on over at Caddy's, across the street, they have that corner lot all paved. What's with that? Why aren't they using that lot?
They're using that, the lot that's right at the corner at Gulf Boulevard. That was part of the original project, the development agreement, and that's for their valet. That's supposed to be a valet lot where they can park, basically stack all the cars in there, and then they kind of unstack them when they got to go run and get somebody's car.
Every time I've been by there, the lot's empty. I'm thinking, this is kind of unusual. It just says no parking. That's what the sign says, and whatever else it says, I don't know. But there is some wording on it. But I was just curious on that. Thank you.
When it was busy last week, I saw that they were using it, but I haven't noticed it this week. But they are using the Palm Street lot that we're talking about, which is it's not authorized for them to use that for parking. So that's something that we're looking at.
Can we still park over at that little Jiffy store too that's sitting there?
Well, they have 4 spots that are authorized for parking for caddies, and that was they were 4 spaces short, and that's how they picked them up. They actually own that property where the convenience store is, but it's under lease for 7 years, and from my understanding, and those parking spaces, all they had left that wasn't accounted for the convenience store were those 4 spaces that, they had an agreement with Caddies for.
Otherwise, we'll just park at Doug's.
Well, they're on every street and street corner and 140th and they're all over the place. And I would like to see us get some no parking signs up on 140th. That's a thoroughfare for everybody that lives back down in there, and it's dangerous as far as I'm concerned. I agree with you, that's not a place for people to be parking.
Right, and we are waiting for more signs to come in, because we did put quite a number of signs out there.
Right, yeah,
And that's one of the areas we're looking at.
yeah, and even addressing maybe parking only on one side of the streets on these narrow residential streets is probably a good idea.
Well, on Bay Shore, North Bay Shore, in that area of 142nd, 141st, it is just too narrow to have any parking right there on the street. So we have prohibited parking in some of those areas on Bay Shore, because you have to be able to get emergency vehicles through, and you have to have traffic that can drive safely through there.
Yeah. I spoke with the owner of Caddies a week or two ago, and they were talking about negotiating with Church by the Sea to use their parking and shuttle down to the restaurant. Have you heard any more on that, Bob?
Yes, I heard the church decided against it.
I wonder if they would entertain the idea of the city putting metered parking there at times other than during church service and splitting the revenue with them.
I can contact them directly, because that could also help the beach, parking. But then you still have the situation where Caddies would be having their employees park there and shuttling them up to the establishment. But
if they're feeding the meter all day, I'm fine with it. It depends on the rest of the commission and whether or not the Church by the Sea would agree to that. But I think that's something worth pursuing. Certainly on the Gulf Boulevard side of that parking lot where they've got a lot of room, may take restriping it so that it's a regular parking lot.
I don't know, I've seen that parking lot quite full, and that's why it's striped that way, so people can go nose to back, nose to back, nose to back, and then when the service is over, everyone can leave.
Yeah, I'm just, I'm trying to think of other ways we could get some parking down there and get the parking off all these back streets so that it's more fair to our residents. And it may be something that the officials at Church by the Sea don't even want to consider, but I think it's worth asking them.
And we might also look at the options of exploring our neighbors to the west, and see if we can enter into maybe some agreement on some of the property that they own. Maybe doing a lease option over a number of years to purchase part of the property that's on Gulf Boulevard that they own.
Yeah. Moving on to the Palm Street property, and we're still waiting for an appraisal on that property, right?
Yes, they told me we should have it next week.
Okay. I've got to say, and that was one reason I was talking about Church by the Sea and that property, I don't like the appearance of the city buying that property. I would rather see us, if we're going to spend money, let's buy a piece of land, even if it's not in Madeira Beach, even if it's over in the industrial park where we're renting property now. Maybe we should just rethink where we put our public works building. Every square foot that we save at the marina is a square foot of of high dry storage facility to store mower boats and bring in more revenue. So really, you can consider that extra space at the high dry as revenue to pay towards a public works building off the island. And for what they were going to want for the garage property, as much as I would like to have seen us get that and keep everything right here in town, it hasn't worked out, so we need to be thinking about other ways maybe we could do that.
We'll look and see what properties might be available.
But does anyone else have anything on the Palm Street property?
I do have 2 electronic,
Okay.
or 3, I'm sorry.
3.
Sure.
Mary Pendergast, Palm Street. This is in reference to the Palm Street property, obviously. Parking's a big revenue source for the city. In the previous years, the city's grossed over $1.6 million annually in parking fees, permits, and fines, not including Archibald. The majority of the income comes from John's Pass. Of this amount, only $95,000 was for all the various parking areas around the city, which includes the city parking lots from 133rd and 134th East and Gulf Boulevard, and the city parking lots from 130th to 136th Avenue West and Gulf Boulevard. It's 81 spaces without that larger lot on 130th, which is 77 spots. The parking enforcement did tell me that they thought that was included in the miscellaneous as well. So that's 158 spaces that generate $95,000 in business, which is $601 per space annually. So if you did 10 spaces on Palm Street, you'd get $6,010 a year, which would take you 71 years to pay that off. If those spots were not located, if the 77 spots aren't included, 81 spaces generate $1,172 annually per spot, which would take you 36 years to pay off that lot on Palm Street. So you're considering spending $430,000 for 10 parking spaces, which is $43,000 per space in an area that's zone residential. This doesn't sound like a good investment for the city. The parking lot should not be about the new restaurant across the street from this lot. I understand the benefits of having a successful business in our area. Unfortunately for you, the limited parking requirements for them was approved by another administration, but you're here to fix that unwise decision, so please don't continue on that path by using taxpayer dollars to finance 10 parking spaces that most likely won't help them either. While the city may want more parking for tourists, adding 10 spaces at $43,000 per space is excessive spending, and the return of investment will take too many years to recapture. Over the last few years, there's been multiple private lots made available to tourists. How much parking can we have in a 2-mile stretch? On page 7 of the city budget, written in a letter from Bob Daniels to you, he says, "We must protect this paradise to preserve our community for future generations. Allowing a parking lot in a residential area and paying premium price is not preserving our paradise, nor is it fiscally responsible. Let's keep residential zoned areas residential." Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, let me just respond to that real quick, and I'm not promoting the Palm Street parking lot by any stretch of the imagination. But those numbers, the 71 years, and I don't mean to contradict you, that's not even close. That lot, yeah, you've got bad information, because I got the... Okay, well, this is from the city treasurer. I mean, these lots, you know, and most of the lots from Archibald all the way down to Johns Pass Park, you know, they'll generate anywhere from $3,000 to, in some cases, $7,000 a spot. And if you guys went by there this weekend, I don't think there's any question that that lot would remain full most of the time, especially with people parking all over the place. I don't mean to contradict you, but let's not talk about 71 years, because that's completely way out there. But I agree it's going to take a little time. But remember, we own the lot after it's paid off, so we have an asset then. So again, I'm not promoting it. I'm just saying that as a business opportunity for the city, it's a great idea. Whether it's a good idea for the residents of the city, totally different story. As a business idea, it'll pay for itself, and then it becomes a property that will most likely raise in price over the years and become more valuable to us. So let's just kind of keep it in the box there. That's all. Thank you.
Chuck Dillon, 529 Lillian. She got the numbers off of the website. I mean, and those are numbers that are published and on the payroll, so, or on...
Chuck, I don't mean to interrupt you. I'm just telling you, I got it from the city treasurer, so, and it has each spot marked out in all the different locations in the city. 71 years, it's not gonna, I get it.
Is this the same one?
No, very close. What is this? It's a budget, yeah, okay.
Yeah, budget. Well, the budget shows what the monies were raised.
There's no question about it, yeah. I can share the stuff I have with you, too.
Well, but anyway...
All I said, I don't want to get in an argument about it, but let's not put it out there that it's 71 years.
Well...
We're going to be sitting on this property forever, and it's going to be an eyesore. No, come on.
It's going to be a long time, but ultimately, if you start changing residential areas to parking areas, where's it going to stop? So, and that's, yeah, and granted, we have parking all along Gulf Boulevard, which is Gulf Boulevard. If we can't get it there, how far in are you gonna go, is our points, so we wanna keep residential. Thank you.
Robert Preston, 425 South Bay Shore. Since this idea of the Palm Street parking came up, and I drive that way quite often, I actually stop at the little market, and I count the cars that are in the city parking lot. I count the cars that are in the valet. I count the cars that are on the street, and I count the cars that are in the dirt parking lot. What I find very strange is that at times the valet would park cars in the dirt parking lot. And the valet parking lot is relatively empty. More often than not, the city parking lot is full. The valet parking lot, and I go there at lunchtime, dinner time, 9 o'clock, whatever. At the times that I've went, I've never seen it more than half full. And quite often there's no cars or one or two. The dirt parking lot, where they're not supposed to be parking.
The dirt parking lot, the lot on Palm?
The lot on
Okay.
Palm, yes,
Making
I'm
sure.
sorry. I call it dirt parking lot. The Palm Street has got lots of cars on it, whether it's people just parking there or Caddy's employees or whatever the case may be. And unfortunately, it's not supposed to be used for parking, and I've taken pictures twice of our parking enforcement vehicle parked there, which I thought was just totally wrong, since it's not supposed to be parking. So anyway, the valet parking is never full. So that tells me that they still have room, and we don't need the city to purchase that property on Palm and make a parking lot out of it. And I'd have to agree, where does it stop? Where does it stop? Where do we stop turning? We know we're demoing houses around here. That's a good place for a parking spot. Where does it stop? So I went in this with an open eye, just to keep an eye, to look at it, and I don't think that we should be doing that as a city. Thank you.
there any email on this?
Yes, sir. I have 3. The first one is from Lori Rosenberger, 14001 Gulf Boulevard. First of all, does the city of Madeira Beach really need to use another parcel of land that can be dedicated to residential zoning for a parking lot? The proposed site is one street off of Gulf Boulevard in a residential area. Wasn't it bad enough that the first residentially zoned lot located on Gulf Boulevard was used to build a restaurant? Additionally, it is reasonably fiscally responsible for the Board of Commissioners of the City of Madeira Beach to pay $430,000 for 10 spots. At $43,000 per parking spot, how many years will it take the residents of Madeira Beach to pay off the expenditure? The next one is from Wendy Bouchard of 540 Maryland Way. I am opposed to the city purchasing the lot at the corner of 141st and Palm for the use of a public parking lot. The property is zoned residential. Also, based on the data on revenue for other city lots, it would take the city over 70 years to recoup the costs of a parking lot. There is also the issue of increased traffic in the area that is already congested. Thank you for your time and consideration of the residents in the area. And the last one's from Tom Green of 14049 Palm Street. And he writes, my family has owned 14049 Palm Street since 1952. What was a great place for families has now become a community overwhelmed with automobiles. We don't need to spend hundreds of thousands of taxpayers' money for another parking lot, one that will take forever to pay back the money spent. I strongly am opposed to such a purchase. That's it.
Thank you. Next is amendment to the BOC Policy Handbook. We got any input on this from the commission?
Yes. I would like to see a little section explaining what a quasi-judicial hearing is and how that differs from what we regularly do up here, a legislative session. I was not really aware of that, and basically the difference is in one case we're acting as a judge, and our city attorney keeps having to rein us in. Do you have a question for the person? You know, because we'll sit here and have a conversation with people when we're supposed to be just, you know, putting something on the record or putting in evidence. I did not know that, right? So I'm messing up these quasi-judicial hearings all the time until I got into it myself. I think any new commissioner should be able to read a little paragraph on what a quasi-judicial hearing is and how it's different from what we do up here, because I didn't know until I took some ethics training and I figured it out after being told many times by our city attorney, do I have a question? You know? So, and I'm a lawyer, so that's kind of even crazier. So I'm happy to help draft that little paragraph in there, and I even know where it goes. Okay, you'll do that. That's even better. Yeah, obviously, don't let me, I just learned what it meant. But there is a place where it goes, towards the rear, and I'll let you see where that.
It's called YouTube, Vice Mayor Price. They've got everything.
It'd be under types of meetings on page 14 of 19.
Yeah, there it is.
Which is
towards the end.
136 of 141 in your packet?
Yes,
Sure.
types of meetings. That's exactly what I had. And I don't think we're doing some of this stuff. When I read through it. Like under official correspondence. And some of this is underlined. Is that, City Clerk, is that your additions? Okay.
We can't hear you, Clara. If you need to speak it.
Sorry. The red underline and strikeout are proposed changes. Yes, ma'am.
And I think the rest of that, the black ones are for special emphasis.
Correct.
Okay. That was the only thing I had to add.
Okay. I had a couple of things. Page, 126, the first bullet point. The last sentence, as long as the request is through the city manager. And I may be wrong on this, but I'm wondering if that doesn't restrict an employee that wants to come to the commission about something, from openly speaking. That's kind of a question.
Yeah, so this does not address that. So if there is an employee that's coming to you and he's bypassing or she's bypassing the city manager, you know, you're not stopped from doing that, but it's not recommended because of your charter specifically deals with your interference with the activities of the city manager.
Right. Okay. The other one is the next bullet point. I'm wondering if we should not include on the investigation of internal affairs of the city, report their findings to the Board of Commissioners. I'm wondering, it says here, appointing a charter office to investigate internal affairs of the city. I'm wondering if we should include, or Pinellas County Sheriff's Office. Because...
Well, that's our charter language, so we'd have to make a charter amendment.
Yes.
And I think the only time they'll get involved is if it's a criminal issue. They're not going to want to get into a policy violation issue.
Okay, I got you. Okay. You know, we've been going through COVID for a year, and hopefully in the near future it'll be waning. At that point, will it be time to stop the email comments and have residents or citizens that want to make a public comment come in? I see a shake of the head, no.
So you can do that, but I think that's going to backfire on you. And my advice to you after doing this for over 30 years is to allow those email comments to come in. That doesn't necessarily mean that the city manager has to read them. There's no legal requirement to read them. You know, so long as they're provided to you and you have the opportunity to read them on your own, there's no requirement to read them out loud.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
good.
So if I may, we probably need to specify if that's the decision of the commission, that you don't want those read out loud, we'll supply them to you.
Well, that's not in your rules right now, though.
Right.
So,
That's what I'm saying. If that's the change that they want to make, that's something that they'll have to specify.
yeah, so when we get to a meeting, when you decide that you're no longer in a local state of emergency or the CDC guidelines, you know, just direct the city manager. It's no longer necessary for you to do that.
Okay.
Because people can
All right.
appear and provide you that information.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, good. That's got it for me. there any public comment on this?
On the handbook you're talking about? Talking about the handbook?
Yes. Have you got anything?
No, I'm
Okay.
fine there.
Well, with that, I guess it's time to adjourn this meeting.
Yeah.
Meeting adjourned at 8:10.